Modern colonialism, sometimes referred to as neocolonialism, is a contemporary form of power and influence wielded by dominant nations over weaker ones, primarily in economic and political domains. Unlike the historical colonialism of the past, where powerful nations physically occupied and governed territories, modern colonialism operates through more subtle and indirect means. It encompasses a range of practices that serve to perpetuate and extend the dominance of dominant nations over less developed or weaker regions. Economically, modern colonialism is unmistakably marked by the existence of highly unequal trade relationships. In these arrangements, powerful nations wield significant influence over the terms of trade, allowing them to exploit resources, establish pricing structures for goods and commodities, and secure economic advantages that predominantly serve their own interests. This can result in profound trade imbalances, leaving weaker nations with minimal bargaining power and severely limited control over their economic future. The phenomenon of debt bondage is another integral facet of modern colonialism, where loans and financial assistance provided by dominant nations subject weaker nations to economic subservience. This financial reliance on the lender nation effectively ensures that the weaker nation remains perpetually in debt and beholden to the more powerful one, perpetuating a cycle of economic dependency that can be challenging to escape. The consequences of these economic dynamics often hinder the development and self-sufficiency of weaker nations, amplifying global economic inequalities and impeding their path toward economic autonomy. One such instance can be seen in the relationship between certain African countries and global powers. Many African nations have abundant natural resources, including minerals, oil, and agricultural products, which are often extracted and exported by powerful nations or multinational corporations at terms that favor the buyers. These terms can include unfavorable pricing, exploitative labor practices, and minimal investment in local development. As a result, these African nations can find themselves economically disadvantaged and unable to fully benefit from their own resources. China has financed and constructed significant infrastructure projects in Africa through loans, such as railway systems, ports, bridges, and other infrastructure projects. These initiatives have improved transportation and trade in the region, but concerns have arisen regarding the debt incurred by African nations to fund these projects, slowly driving African nations under the influence of China's soft power. Another example of the debt trap in modern colonialism is Sri Lanka's experience with the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Sri Lanka borrowed heavily from China to fund large-scale infrastructure projects, including a port and an airport. However, the terms of these loans were onerous, and when Sri Lanka struggled to repay the debt, they were forced to hand over control of the Hambantota port to a Chinese state-owned company on a 99-year lease. This move raised concerns about China's expanding influence in the region and highlighted the economic vulnerabilities of countries that accumulate significant debt through such initiatives. It's similar to owing someone a debt. In such a situation, you can't help but feel inferior to them, gradually giving up influence and control. Multinational corporations, backed by global financial institutions, in the name of globalization extract natural resources from third-world countries, leaving little benefit for the local population. They exploit cheap labor, perpetuating cycles of poverty and inequality. These corporations create sweatshops, where workers endure long hours, low wages, and poor working conditions. Land grabs displace indigenous communities, while slums continue to grow as a result of inadequate urban planning. Meanwhile, rich countries enjoy the luxury and convenience brought by these exploitative systems, consuming goods produced through modern colonialism without questioning their origin. Modern colonialism in the political arena is marked by interventions in the internal affairs of less powerful nations by dominant states. This interference can take various forms, including supporting specific political leaders, movements, or policies that align with the interests of the more powerful nations. Such support can come in the form of financial aid, military assistance, or diplomatic backing. While these interventions may be presented as cooperative or stabilizing efforts, they can effectively undermine the sovereign decision-making of the less powerful nation. These actions can have severe consequences for the political stability and development of independent, self-determined governance in the target nation. When foreign powers meddle in the domestic politics of other countries, it can lead to corruption, nepotism, and a lack of accountability, as local leaders may prioritize the interests of external backers over those of their own citizens. Moreover, these interventions can fuel internal conflicts, as various groups vie for external support and resources. In linguistic and educational terms, modern colonialism can involve the imposition of dominant languages, cultures, and educational systems on less powerful nations. The dominant nations often use their linguistic and educational systems as tools of influence and control. They may promote their languages and cultures as superior, thus marginalizing the indigenous languages and traditions of weaker nations. The global influence of Western educational systems and institutions is a multifaceted phenomenon. Western countries, particularly the United States, the United Kingdom, and other European nations, have established themselves as educational hubs, hosting some of the world's most renowned universities and institutions. These institutions are often associated with academic excellence, research innovation, and diverse learning environments. As a result, many students from non-Western countries aspire to pursue higher education in these prestigious Western universities. This phenomenon is commonly referred to as the brain drain. While it offers tremendous opportunities for individual growth, exposure to diverse perspectives, and access to cutting-edge research, it also carries certain implications for the students' home countries and the global education landscape. Firstly, the brain drain can lead to the loss of talented individuals who might otherwise contribute to the development and progress of their home countries. When highly skilled students choose to study in the West and potentially settle there, it can create a deficit of expertise in their home nations. This loss of human capital can affect sectors like science, technology, healthcare, and education. Secondly, the educational experiences and values that students acquire in Western institutions can influence their worldviews and aspirations. Exposure to Western ideas, cultures, and social norms can lead to a replication of these values when students return to their home countries. Moreover, the preference for Western education can create educational disparities within a country. Those who can afford to study abroad might gain access to resources, networks, and opportunities that others cannot. This further exacerbates inequality and hinders equitable educational access. For example, English is no longer just a language in some places, it's now a measure of intelligence. The dominance of Western higher education is a reflection of globalization, but it also raises questions about cultural influence, the circulation of knowledge, and the global distribution of intellectual resources. While many non-Western countries are working to enhance their own educational systems and retain their talent, the pull of Western universities remains a powerful force in the global academic landscape. Modern cultural colonialism is a complex issue affecting societies worldwide. In this dynamic global landscape, the cultural products and values of powerful nations often take center stage, facilitated by the extensive reach of media, especially through popular mediums like movies and music. These cultural exports, typically hailing from dominant Western nations, exert a profound influence over the values, customs, and traditions of weaker nations. The impact of this cultural dominance can be seen in various aspects of life. For instance, local languages might give way to English, and indigenous art forms might lose their prominence to Western popular culture. Traditional clothing, rituals, and culinary practices may be overshadowed by Western fashion, entertainment, and fast food chains. It's not just about the consumption of Western media, but also about the reconfiguration of local identities and values, often to align more closely with what is perceived as the global cultural norm. Moreover, this cultural hegemony can extend to perceptions of beauty, success, and social norms. The promotion of Western beauty standards in media and entertainment can lead to an idealization of certain physical characteristics, affecting the self-esteem of individuals who do not fit these standards. Similarly, Western lifestyles and consumerism can become aspirational, sometimes at the cost of local values and sustainability. One of the core criticisms of modern colonialism is that it perpetuates global inequalities and disparities in wealth and power. Weaker nations often find themselves trapped in a cycle of dependence, unable to break free from the economic and political pressures exerted by dominant nations. As a result, their development is stunted, and they are left with limited agency on the world stage. Discussions on modern colonialism are essential in understanding the contemporary dynamics of global power, the impact of historical legacies, and the ongoing struggle for economic and political self-determination in an increasingly interconnected world.